IVM.
If you like listening to Simplified, you must listen to other IVM productions like TFG, The Fan Garage, which gives you a daily sports fix of cricket, badminton, Indian football, and even fantasy cricket. Listen to it on any of the podcasting apps or on IVM's podcast app as well.
Hello and welcome to Simblified, a fortnightly podcast that's gone temporarily weekly to bring you the best and the worst of the year gone by. Which is, unless you've been asleep for a really long time or a disastrous at math, 2017.
And I think we've pretty much covered the worst part of the year.
Yeah.
On previous episodes, both our previous episodes, Naren, we've got feedback that they've been so dark that they've started developing their own gravitational systems. But fear not, this episode is going to be extremely different.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to be talking about the fun parts of 2017.
Yeah, there were none.
Yeah. But we just made an effort to infuse more poor jokes into this week's episode than just to make your life a little more interesting. Yeah.
So let's introduce ourselves first.
Yeah. So I am Naren. And I live in Malad West. And that's pretty much my bio. What do you do?
And,
I live in Malad West,
and I'm Chuck. Our third wheel of our auto rickshaw, Sriket, is not here.
Yeah. He's the only one who seems to be gainfully employed. Actually, he has very urgent and important meetings he has to attend.
So to kick off this episode on a positive note, we always start with one random fact about ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I thought we'd say one happy thing that happened to us in 2017, Naren. Yeah. So I got to see, I'll start with mine because I have one right here right away, which is why I set the theme. So I got to see my one of my favorite bands live. I went all the way to Singapore for them and I caught the guitarist pick when he threw this. I might have used this on a previous episode, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So I remember going once to a Guns N' Roses concert with my son.
Just to be clear, is this your happy story? It could be.
No, it's not. But I know there's more weird people per square meter than a Brazilian rainforest. There was one guy who would have walked in and he would have been welcomed as a potted plant in any nursery.
That actually the lead guitarist. Yeah. So you're talking about Slash actually.
And my son he went into raptures because he got the guy threw a pick and he got.
Oh wow! So your son and I actually share something in common.
Yeah.
We've got famous guitarists' picks.
Yeah.
Nice. So is that your happy story?
My happy story. Yeah, I got shy. I'm getting old, right? So I lose track. But this is what happened. I was driving to Pune with a person older than me, a sort of a sister-in-law kind of. So we were driving, and she's a really witty and funny person. So it's such a joy to. So basically, she's telling me about her experience with driving, and what her story was like this. She hadn't driven. She hadn't sat on a front seat of a car till she was 50.
Oh, 50?
Because, they didn't have a car. And, so sure. They should just travel in taxis if they had to go to the airport or the railway station and sit back. And then her husband climbed up the corporate ladder and then he bought a car. And he realized after buying the car that he was too terrified to drive it. So she said, you have bought a car, so I'll learn. Brave lady. So she went and so she joined up a driving school. And for some reason, she had assumed that since we have two legs, there were only two pedals. But the car had three.
Oh, no.
So she thought you have a female bicycle and a male bicycle. This was the male model of a car.
Oh, no.
And she wanted to know if there was a female one. She asked the driving instructor, who was completely flummoxed. He says, no, madam.
Oh no! Yeah. I love reasoning. I can't argue with that. It's like the time.
And as someone, so I shared it on one of my WhatsApp groups, and he said that what did she think the third pedal was used with? Yeah. So I said,
reminds me of the time when if we were juveniles in 8th standard or something, and when we gleefully found out that stereo pins had male and female terminology.
Yeah. I used to find that very sort of, I used to turn pink and all that.
Anyway, if you haven't figured out by now already, dear listener, Simplified is a podcast that aims to break down everything that happens around you in language that you, and importantly us, can understand. And Naren, after spending a few hours documenting all that's happened in 2017, the best deconstruction I can do for the year is this: run. Yeah, just run. 2017 has been that kind of year. Okay, like the entire year can be summarized like this. Two things happened, okay? On one hand, Trump, Modi, Kim Jong-un and climate change were doing some things to the planet. And Elon Musk was racing against time to make sure he could evacuate the rest of us. This is basically TLDR of 2017.
Very nicely summarized, and actually at this point, if we sign off and say we'll see you in next one, we wouldn't have sacrificed much by way of information transmission.
Actually. So before we get into, so we are going to discuss three things today: artificial intelligence, massive feminist movement that happened around the world, and climate change. Not all the same thing, by the way. There were commas in between. But before that, we are going to look at one of our most beloved sections, the profundity of the day. And boy, has the family group delivered, Naren, this year. So here is what I have for this week. It's a black background. God has deposited love, joy, prosperity, peace, laughter, and all kinds of blessings in your ATM account. Use without limit. The PIN code is prayer. Good morning.
So
Any
awesome.
comments, Naren? Apart from, of course, the technical fact that prayer itself, I mean, it needs to be a numerical code. Like,
yeah, that would be awesome. It's awesome if, you get one of these people and actually they
actually have to type it out.
Yeah, prayer.
Like, and this comes after all the economic turmoil of 2017. Like, why do you want to stop over here? Like, debit card should be a bhajan. Linking Aadhaar is when you get your Poonal for the first time. Like, if you forget your password is when you get a replace Poonal. And account closure is when you tell your parents that you're marrying a Muslim. Like, that's, I think.
Or when you check out, that was also fine. Yeah.
Oh, checking account.
Checking account, yeah.
Anyway, so with that...
What would be a check bouncing?
Huh?
Like you say a prayer and without meaning it,
Yeah.
that's like a check bouncing. So, or if you pray and God doesn't grant you that wish, is that a check bouncing?
In a way, yeah, it is.
So that would be interesting, yeah.
Terrible, Naren. Anyway, moving on to actual things that happened. Something that was always... So, I want to talk about something that was always around but became really big in 2017. A lot of media latched up onto it and lots of people got excited and talked about it without actually having any clue about what it was. But I'm not talking about Bitcoin. That's something that we're going to do. We are actually going to talk about artificial intelligence. 2017, Naren, was a very interesting year for AI. I mean, the year, like, a lot of people in January said that 2017 is going to be sort of like the pivotal year for AI, and in a lot of ways it actually was. MIT started the MIT as in not your alumnus.
Sorry,
not
the
your
minor MIT in Boston.
The minor, the other one, the branch.
The branch office.
Yeah. We have one branch that is in Boston. So MIT had a few predictions, and many of them actually did come true. So one of the things that they said was, AI this year will get so smart that they will start doing positive reinforcement. Basically what Pavlov did to his dog, but with algorithms. And it's damn interesting because you make a computer do hazard things which humans by themselves don't have the patience or energy to do. And when an outcome is achieved, you digitally pat it on the head so that the algorithm says, hey, let me just replicate the last step I did. So this way, the inefficient algorithms are weeded out over a period of time and it becomes more and more powerful. I think that's... so this positive reinforcement, digital as it were, a digital version, became really one of the most used technologies.
It's a paradigm shift because now no one's actually programming it. The machine is programming it.
Yeah, the machine is programming itself, and I think that's the most important. I think that's a great way of defining AI actually. AI is actually not creating solutions; it's creating programs that in turn, So positive reinforcement is really how AlphaGo, the Google thing, beat
That was incredible.
Yeah. So that is entirely positive reinforcement. No, it wasn't a smart machine that went into it. It became smart over a period of time, which is fascinating and scary. The second thing, and here is where things go beyond the laboratory, China's AI boom. So, okay, over the last year, not just artificial intelligence wise, China has taken has become the flag bearer of several things worldwide. With including climate change, very surprisingly. But they have also wanted to move away from this, hey, we are the sweatshop of the world, we are the cheap manufacturing hub of the world, to wanting to position themselves as more of a R&D destination and thinking destination. And this is already manifest in many industries. Like the best drones in the world are made in, like the best drone company DJI is headquartered in China. Many of the phone brands that are ruling the world are Chinese, like OnePlus or Xiaomi or whatever it is. And AI is a technology that is really, really taking off in China. This is also partially because the US really is not focusing on anything that is more intelligent than the alphabet right now. Like anything more than multiplication tables is not on the US science agenda right now, unfortunately or fortunately. So I think there was a very poignant moment where Trump came to China, and there was this device called iFly Tech, which was a Chinese language translator sort of thing, which immediately translated back what Trump was saying in real time into Chinese.
Wow.
So yeah. So that's like the level to which the Chinese have gone, and the US is forget playing catch up. It's like they're not even in the game. Like they don't even know the game exists. The third thing is something called language learning, which is very important because eventually a lot of AI technology is going to become things that you and I will use in everyday life. It's not going to become something that men in white coats do in labs and circle jerk and create nice articles in Nature magazine or something. Yeah. These are things that actually one day you and I are going to use. And for that, language learning is extremely important. Like already Uber drivers are so comfortable listening and interacting to the map's voice that they hear, right? And that's only going to go forward. Here's a little trivia thing for you, Naren. Do you know who Sophia is?
No. So,
unfortunately, I don't have anything more specific than that. But Sophia is actually the world's first robot to be given citizenship. Do you know which country? Do you know which country now? Bonus points.
Yeah, I've heard of this, yes.
South Africa. No, Saudi Arabia. You got the initials right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, take a moment for this to sink in.
Wait a minute, how the hell?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
You can't
drive a car if you have the right chromosomes.
Yes. Saudi Arabia, even if you're born in Saudi Arabia, and if you're...
Oh, it's a PR stunt, I guess. Anyway, Sophia does have a Saudi Arabian citizenship. And she probably needs her lab assistant to walk her out if she doesn't want to be pelted with stones when she's outside.
That would be so awesome.
And lastly, MIT's one prediction for the year is, and I really like this, calming down the AI hype machine, which is, there is so much hype going on about, just like what we're seeing with Bitcoin right now, and it's just fueling a media hype where more and more people are putting like lakhs and crores, millions of dollars into it without understanding what it actually fundamentally does. The same thing could happen to AI, but people put, more attention than is actually necessary for scientists to be able to carry out what they actually need to do, rather than having VCs shove too much money down the road.
Sometimes too much hype is a bad thing.
And they'll be forced to create things to satisfy VC's targets rather than
just
actually
optics rather than
exactly. So I think these were 4 predictions which did become true over the period of
one of the things I read about is one of the big artificial intelligence techniques, which is deep learning, is nearly 30 years old, and nothing has come to improve it after that. So a lot of AI is also basically a one-trick pony, is what one criticism is.
So a lot of worry is also whether AI is going to take over our jobs, or rather whether what will happen if AI becomes sentient and it plots against us. Basically the whole Terminator future and things like that. But 2017 has given us hope that AI will remain as smart or as stupid as the people who created it in the first place. Like, for example, Google, a company that clearly has more money than
sense.
Was
No,
that?
that's a lot of sense.
No, that's
also,
Apple actually. So. They had, if there's any company in the world that has a need for AI or has the resources to put into AI, it's Google. And their system was unable to differentiate between a black man and a gorilla. And that became like news. To us, it seems so simple, but then how do you program a computer, etc.? So all those debates started raging on. And there were also many controversies around how artificial intelligence that was used to select candidates from resumes ended up picking, was biased towards men, was biased towards whites, was biased towards yada yada, etc., 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 without actually being fair and neutral, which it was supposed to do in the first place. That being said, there is still obviously a lot of hope that AI will improve down the road. These are still very, very, very
one of the biggest
early days.
scary things is that it will displace people very, very unexpectedly and without giving anyone the time to react. So, like one big industry that is going to affect us as a country is software, in which AI is making a lot of jobs redundant.
Yeah. So this is a debate that's been going on for quite a while, and honestly, nobody has an answer for it. Like,
no one knows for sure.
Yeah, nobody knows for sure. Like, on one hand, you have people saying, "Don't be a Luddite," because in the past, when technology was taken away, technology taketh, technology giveth. You'll have 1 million jobs taken away, but 2 million jobs, newly created. Like stellar roles like social media manager didn't exist before Facebook, for instance.
That's true.
So. But on the other hand, even people as smart as Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have said that AI might actually be, could be dangerous. And that's probably because the pace at which it's taking over. But then that we really don't know how it's going to go down. I think 2018 is going to be a very, very interesting year. AI has also infiltrated, if I may use the term, in creative fields. But again, it's all driven by humans, of course. Your stand-up career is safe, so don't worry about that. One thing that is actually taken over is actually fake news. There are now AI fake news generators. There are even AI porn generators.
Porn?
So, porn, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very templated.
Yeah. Come to think of it, no? Yeah. 2018, I think, is one of the biggest consumer applications of AI, which we saw in 2017, was actually in the iPhone X. The Face ID actually uses AI, and there's an increase in the production of chips, mobile phone chips, or just chips in general, that can process artificial intelligence algorithms. So 2018 is going to be an interesting year, tech-wise, application-wise.
I remember here, one of our common friends, Krish Ashok, way back in, I think, 2006 or 7, wrote a little macro on an Excel sheet which would generate a Hindu music review. One of those.
Oh, yes.
And you couldn't tell.
And another one of our friends, Lavanya Mohan, she created a Chetan Bhagat book generator. So that was again very. So I remember these things. 2018 is going to be another interesting thing that we're going to see in 2018, which I think is going to be damn interesting, is the ethics around using AI. I think enough people know about the dangers of AI to actually set a few rules in place before shit really hits the ceiling. Say, there are all sorts of doomsday scenarios, so we better be prepared. So yeah, that's my look back at AI in 2017 and what to look forward to in 2018. And should we take a little break here, Naren, before jumping into something else?
Yeah,
let's do that.
We're from the Daily Pow, a Bombay-specific food and culture website, and we have a weekly podcast called The Podcast.
That's Pow with an O, not with a V.
Why is it with an O and not with a V when most people spell Pow with a V?
Because it's Pow, not powerful.
And some people also spell it with a U.
Like Pow, like feet.
Yeah.
Like Pow Lagu.
Yeah, like Pow Lagu. So weird. To listen to more of us and what we have to say about the city and its culture and its food, listen to the podcast every week on IVM Podcasts.
And we're back. Thanks for staying with us. And this is Chuck and Naren getting you a recap of all the fascinating and depressing things that happened in 2017.
2017, yes.
And we just spoke about artificial
AI,
intelligence.
which takes care of the fascinating. Now to get into the depressing, we have...
there was this infamous incident where a man named Harvey Weinstein, who was a movie mogul, was revealed to be a sexual predator, and his modus operandi was to just use his position of power and coerce women into having sex with him. And two intrepid journalists really brought this out into the open. It's been going on for a really long time.
He's brought his stuff out in the open quite a way anyway, so...
actually, he turned out to be quite a monster, when you look back about it. And but the transformational thing here was social media.
Yeah.
And the hashtag was metoo.
Yeah, correct.
And when this came out, it spread virally. This was in October 2017.
Yeah, and as late as October 2017, and it's like one of the most pivotal things that happened.
Actresses like Gwyneth Paltrow, Ashley Judd, Jennifer Lawrence, Reese
so many of them,
Lady Gaga, all top people.
Simone, even that US gymnast Simone Perez,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Simone Biles.
Simone Biles, sorry.
That's Simone Biles. Yeah. So he was the bad thing here was that he would really coerce women, and they would keep quiet because they really, first of all, they felt violated. So they were, they were a mixture of angry and humiliated and confused, and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And the second is they were afraid of the man, what might happen to their careers.
Their careers, right?
Yeah. So that whole thing, and it turned out that many women tend to just sort of try and forget about it. It's really a painful... It's not just the act itself, it's the general humiliation and the subjugation that they experience. It's so traumatic that they just close their eyes and
just pretend it didn't happen. It's like ripping off a band-aid. Pain will go away.
And just let's forget about it, let's move on, let's forget about it. But when Me Too happened and people started coming out with their own stories, all these actors and famous people, other people also did.
Yeah, everybody from all walks of life, right? You had Ellen DeGeneres at one end, you had our regular Facebook friends at the other, and I think the tweet that started it all, what's the actress's name?
Alyssa Milano.
So her tweet was something like, the spirit of it was basically, if all of us come out and talk about our problems, then maybe the world will understand the magnitude. The world, or men in particular, really. Let's face it. Like Will Smith said in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I apologize on behalf of my gender. So it's really that. And I think the wave that this just created around the world, the universal appeal, as it were, and I know, I mean, the word universal appeal is usually used in a positive sense, like with respect to a happy feeling or music or sport or something. You talk about football having a universal appeal. This also had a universal appeal, but in that sort of negative sense, where it was so... I mean, women from all cultures, from all over the world, from white-collar jobs all the way to, whatever, maids or whoever, everybody was coming out and the stories were just all the same. On one hand, you were being molested by your uncle. On the other hand, you were being molested by a guy like Harvey Weinstein, who is one of the most powerful, once respected figures in Hollywood. The stories are just all the same. To some extent, it's not shocking because maybe it's something that we always knew, but it's just...
It's just that when a lot of people share that they've also been through it, there is some sort of a solidarity, a brotherhood or a sisterhood, where people can sort of, the factor of humiliation and shame, at least, even if it doesn't go away, it's a little less when you realize that there are other people in your predicament. And maybe the best way to go about it is to punish the people who did it, so that other people won't be able to just nonchalantly, sort of...
I look at this like how I look at Michael Wolff's book, Fire and Fury, about Donald Trump. It revealed nothing that we didn't already know.
But it revealed it.
And boy did it reveal it. It's probably not the most elegant way in which it came out, but just the fact that there is so much that has come out and so much hype and buzz that's created around this, we hope that something comes out of it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's come out of both Fire and Fury and the whole
Me Too campaign.
Yeah.
And it's not that the Me Too was without its criticism and without its... so there were a lot of these woke people, as they are called, who randomly pile on to the thing.
They were worried about the semantics of it. I actually read an article which criticized the Me Too campaign because it was grammatically incorrect. I'm not kidding you about this. I mean,
what prize asses share the world we inhabit? It's like sometimes you really wonder. It takes all kinds.
It takes absolutely all kinds. And again, the stories from all over. I mean, just a few anecdotes. Like in India, a country that is no stranger to sexual abuse or unreported sexual abuse. World famous underreporting in sexual abuse. One of the students, ex-students of a university, created that Google Doc or something where all the...
So she was a lawyer, I think, named Raya Sarkar.
Yes.
And what she did was, she alleged rampant sexual abuse in universities and she named people.
Yeah.
And another lady, I forgot her name, she actually made a Google Doc on it and she told people, please add to it.
Crowdsourced.
Yeah, crowdsourced data.
Hall of shame, as it were.
And there were criticisms. So people said that you can't do things like this. You can't accuse people of wrongdoing without giving...
I mean, that is the other side of it, right? I mean, as I don't want to be cynical about a movement like this, but the other way is people's reputations can actually be shattered in no time. And
in
no time at all.
There are people, so women, who would want to maliciously
defame somebody.
Defame someone. Why should you not account for that? So it's complicated because you can use these kind of things to settle scores, which is very unfair for the person on the other side. And then,
And the list of people who have been, the high profile people who have been accused of sexual harassment, who have not, who have either confirmed or not denied is shocking, really. Some icons like Louis C.K., Al Franken of the Republican Party, who was actually one of the most outspoken Democrats and, somebody whose clips had gone viral even. He was accused, which was like really down. Kevin Spacey, that was really, really massive. Netflix cancelled a show. And just 3 days before we are recording this, Aziz Ansari, which is especially shocking because the man is a self-declared feminist. And of all the people who, you'd have considered to be... who
should have been aware of the fact that a no doesn't have to be like a well-declared no. Your body language can be a no. Your a lot of things, and he seemed to just ignore all that and just go away. Anyway, it's a complicated case, and
the one person, however, who has not been accused, or rather has been accused and nothing's been done against him, is, of course, the tangerine turd himself, the honorable 45th president of the United States of America, who has been, women have accused him. There is voice recording of him having, thoughts. And it's incredible. He just continues to be in power.
He just gets away with it,
And it's actually altogether not a bad thing in my mind, because having a president who's a sexual predator is actually much better than having Mike Pence in power. So I think that's a trade-off. I personally am willing to just keep my...
radical, but probably sensible.
Probably sensible for the rest of the world. So just bear with us for 3 more years.
Just last it out, So to sum that up, the other one interesting point that some women made was that it's not just me too. There is also that I did that. So there are, what some people believe is there needs to be a shift away from focusing the fact that women get raped. Okay, to focus that women are raped. By men. So that was one of the things.
Very.
And the entire movement on the whole, sort of, if it's probably emboldened women, at least in America, hopefully in India too,
and
to stand up and complain.
Yeah, it has, and it's done so in surprising number of other countries. I today learnt of an Arabic hashtag that was used. So, I mean, it's happening around the world. People, women are standing up, which I think is great, not just in terms of, I mean, speaking up against sexual abuse, but women empowerment in general. Yeah. If you were to ask, I mean, to end on a slightly different note, if you were to ask one of these VHP type parties in India about the shift from metoo to I did it, they would actually put the blame again back on the women, saying you dressed like this, therefore you were raped, and therefore I did it.
That's such a sad thing.
Yeah.
But it's, I think it's mostly discredited. No one uses that argument any longer, and that's a credit to the all that's happening on social media. Otherwise that used to be, you can't wear short clothes and walk out.
Again, just proof that
complain that you've been
again it's just more proof that there are way too many old men who just haven't had a good wank in a long time. I think we should
have, like, I don't know, online courses, or actually
we should use that AI porn that we spoke about. I think we know who the target or the white mice for that could be. Anyway, we are going to take a little break, and we are going to come back with part 3, where we are going to look at something way more cheerful, climate change.
Yes. Be right back.
Hi, I'm May, and I'm a huge fan of the indie music scene in our country. A scene that's relatively underground, even though it sometimes speaks its head overground, but there's no shortage of talent, and I get the privilege of interviewing some of the most awesome musicians on my show. I've had the likes of Euphoria, Krish Kale, Hardcore, Randolph Correa. I've had singer-songwriters, folk singers, electronic music producers, playback singers, rappers, fusion artists, instrumentalists, classical musicians, and so on. Whether mainstream or not, these people have chosen to release their original music, and these are the people currently shaping the direction in which our music scene is heading. Join me on my show every Monday and tune in to discover the unique talent coming out of India today. You can catch Made in India on your favorite podcasting app or our very own IVM podcast app.
We're back, and with the most cheerful topic of this episode, which is climate change, which broadly says that we are irreversibly changing the climate and we are going to be dead very soon.
I think to sum up climate change in 2017 is that we are basically. I mean, there is no, like, till now there was hope. Right now,
there is.
I don't think there is any. I mean, it's reached that stage where.
It's a matter of time before we are all
it's that, the tipping point right before an exam. No, you till about 3 minutes you have hope. I will revise. I will finish these. Now there is still half the textbook is left, but I will do that tomorrow morning. Then there is that click, that realization that, oh shit, 75% of the syllabus and I don't know anything. I think that point is where we are at right now.
Welcome to the only show where you can compare climate change to
engineering college exam. And climate, there is no supplementary exam over here.
You can't take it again. Year back. So basically, just to sum it up, what it means is...
We didn't say anything to sum up, by the way.
No, summing up climate change, the exalted body of learning is anthropogenic factors are human activities which affect the climate, and the scientific consensus is that the climate is changing, and these changes are in large part caused by human activities, and it is largely irreversible. So whatever damage has been done is going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to roll that back. And the most of most concern is the rise in CO2 levels. And this is due to emissions from fossil fuel combustion. It is also due to aerosols. It is also due to animal husbandry. So one of the things that is happening is the US is increasingly consuming meat, and livestock releases a lot of methane. And deforestation, so rampant deforestation all over the world. Our insatiable appetite for paper and wood products it's really raising global.
Yeah. There is one major source of emission that you missed out, Naren, which is actually from politicians' mouths, actually. And that's not a joke anymore, because now the biggest threat to the climate, to the world, is actually Donald Trump's stance on climate change.
Yeah. So what this fine gentleman did was he decided, I believe that decision not at finals. So it has to,
yeah.
Luckily, America still has a semblance of sort of democratic
Thankfully, the
process.
forefathers
So they
predicted that 44 presidents down the line.
You just might get someone like. And what he said was that he will withdraw the US from the 2015 Paris Agreement, under which the nations, all nations agreed to take steps.
In which incredibly all nations, almost all
they managed
nations.
to agree to take steps to limit the increase in global temperature. And among others, China has been very dramatic in
taking the lead.
Determined taking the lead, and they did their bit. And Trump, basically, who believes that all the evil in this world was caused because Barack Obama was made president, says that because Barack Obama did this, I'm going to walk back. And the industrialists in America are rubbing their hands in glee. Now they can burn more oil. They want to pay anything, and so their position becomes more competitive. It's very scary, and it is likely to tip over the world into chaos a lot sooner than if our tangerine turd, as you like to put it, hadn't been the president.
And because of climate change, the summers are getting worse and the winters are getting worse, because of which Trump was actually complaining about the cold in Florida. And he actually said something like, we could use a little bit of that mythical global warming which was
so insensitive and so
remember
bad,
we started this entire look back at 2017 by saying that palmistry is actually going to become a thing, because you'll be able to tell how smart you are by figuring out how far down your face your palm has been embedded. So Trump
definitely one of those
led to
moments,
a lot of faces being met by. It's depressing, right? Every month you see some news like this chunk has moved away from the Arctic Circle. There was this very heartbreaking picture of an emaciated polar bear that did the rounds.
Oh, that was
a few
terrible.
weeks. It's really heartbreaking. There are species that are dying around the world. It's crazy. It's
speaking of species which are dying, this actually came as a humorous piece, but it is kind of sad in a way. So there is this little creature called a depressed mud crab. That's its
depressed
name.
mud crab. And depressed in the emotional sense, or like the physical depressed?
Probably depressed, or
forming a depression in
depressed mud or whatever. I don't know. But its name is the depressed mud crab. Unless there are scientists who specialize
in... name for a 70s punk band. Depressed mud crabs.
It would be an awesome band. We could. There isn't one, but we should. So what? The crab. This poor crab has a lot of problems, but its greatest burden is it has genital parasites. So the little crab has obviously tiny little genitals, and on those tiny little genitals it has parasites which take over its reproductive system and use it for their own. So it's a particular barnacle. So it's like the barnacles which stick to Captain Haddock keeps saying, billions of blue blistering barnacles. So some of
but
those
this is blue blistering leading to blue balls. No?
That roughly. So it latches on to the crotches of depressed crabs and takes over the machinery, and basically, and people think that herpes is bad. They have nothing on the depressed
but
crab.
what is climate change?
And what they found is, because the temperatures of the waters in which the depressed mud crab lives has risen by 2 degrees, the genital parasites have died.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so these guys are
these guys are like, they are like, they're going around like, sort of waving their underwear and whatever, I don't know whatever happy mud crabs do when they are happy. But it's wiped out an entire species of organism, which are genetic mud crab, depressed mud crab,
scrotal freeloaders.
Scrotal
freeloaders. Okay.
So that's what
their happiness is a barometer of global Like you have these random barometers, no, of economy. You say like the Big Mac index, and you had one. I remember the French
hot waitress index,
hot waitress skirt length index, which we'll explain later. And so now we have another one. Like how happy this mud crab is a indication of how screwed the world is with respect to climate change. Wow.
So if you see, profundity. If you see mud crabs high-fiving each other, you know that you're...
pack your eggs for Mars. Is there hope?
Well, I don't know. So there are climate change deniers. There is one gentleman named Matt Ridley who says that this global warming is good because it gives rise to vegetation, and more vegetation means more oxygen being generated, and it's cyclical. It's not as irreversible as it looks, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that a lot of things will change because we are looking at things. I'm sure that in the cosmic globe, another 11.7 billion years, no one's going to have any problem. But on a human time scale, I'm more interested in what is going to happen in the next 30 years. And that is truly worrisome because it is likely that sea levels will rise, a lot of species will go extinct. There will be a lot of hardship. A lot of people live in low-lying areas along the coast, which are likely to be inundated. Habitat change is going to happen. It's scary. And personally, I think that while a lot of mitigation will happen by technological, people build bridges, people build buildings, people build roads, go here, go there, make more food out of lesser space. All those things will happen. Life will lose a little bit more of the charm that it used to have.
And in many ways, right? Not just species dying. I mean, the natural attractions are dying, or the Great Barrier Reef. Many times it has. I mean, every year you keep saying it's died. So you don't know whether it's actually happening. But at least, if nothing else, there is more awareness than ever before about this. I mean, at a very, very small scale, you can see housing societies in Goregaon, in Malad, urging tenants to segregate their their trash. If nothing else. Also a huge rise in entomophagy, which is the practice, as it were, of cultivating insects for food, which seems gross to us right now, but it might be
the most sensible thing.
It is the most sensible thing to do because they occupy so much less space, and they're on a per gram basis, they're actually more nutritious than the most supple of grass-fed buffaloes. Buffaloes, yes. We're still operating in India. Hope in that sense remains, but on the whole, things don't look very good for the
so on that very, very cheerful note,
I think we should bid farewell to 2017. As we look forward to 2018, Naren, what are you looking for? What do you hope?
I'm hoping that, I don't know, I get more vacation. Very, very self-centered hopes. And
that's fine, actually.
So
I think it's now a good time to be self-centered because clearly with climate change and Trump, I don't think there's going to be too much of a world left. I mean, basically, if any of you have FDs for more than 10 years, please reconsider.
You might
liquidate at the earliest and go on that Philippines vacation that you always wanted to, which I will be doing.
If you're convinced that the world is going to end and you decide to sort of donate your trousers to the next passerby, and the world doesn't end, you look like a chump. So there's also that. So don't catch those FDs just yet. So hang in and stay safe and see you soon.
And till then, like the ads have been saying, just keep listening to Simblified and other IVM podcast shows till this whole mess blows over. And Shrek, and we hope Liverpool wins the Premier League this year. That would be Shrik's wish if he was here. He would die a happy man if that were to happen. All right, guys, see you soon, and we will be back with much more cheerful news very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
As you can see, we have a podcast listener in his natural habitat. Millions of years of evolution have led him to this point. He's on his way to work, and listening to podcasts makes his miserable day better. He will now head to work and use all his knowledge to communicate with other colleagues and possibly future mates. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out all the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.